Hello, Dustin here with Revved Up Design. Coming to you again because I got a lot of views and a lot of comments on my last video that I did with you guys. Talking about finding your fill port for your current cartridges, as well as a possibility of how to fill them. Done a little bit more research and had a lot of questions come up on that video. So I want to take this opportunity to open up a brand new cartridge. We're going to pop this bad boy open, see how the spring is affecting the pressure inside. Had a couple different comments talking about filling from the port on the bottom where you extract the ink from in the machine, as well as somebody commenting on a fifth hidden fill port, but they didn't leave anything other than that, so we'll just go on the assumption that that's not available to all of us. And then talk about a little bit about expiring ink. A lot of the questions that came up were around expiring ink because of, obviously, there's a chip on the front of the cartridge, so that's going to tell the machine when the ink was produced. Currently, from everything that I've seen and everything that I've read, there's no answer for that as of yet. So if in the future you have to buy more ink directly from Eufy, use that cartridge and then refill that new cartridge, that may be something you have to do in the future. As far as will it stop the machine from working, I can't answer that question because I simply don't have any spent cartridges that are past due date. So I'm in the boat with a lot of you. I was not an early tester. I got my machine just a little over a month ago and have been doing a lot of testing, so it's been fun and interesting to do. But unfortunately, I got the two sets of inks that a lot of you got, so I don't really have expiring ink cartridges. So we'll have to wait and see on that question. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and dig into this new one to see the position of the spring inside. We'll go through the process of taking it apart again just to show you how that's done. I'm going to glove up because obviously this can be toxic, and then we'll go from there. So here we have a brand new yellow ink toner. You can see here, brand new, fully sealed. This has an expiry date of August 29th of 2026. So obviously well within expiration date. We cannot test the expired ink, but that'll be in a future video because I don't have those right now. So let's go ahead and crack into this one. All right. Obviously we have to remove it from its plastic. Alright, now again, we are going to be accessing this through the two tabs here on this side, as well as the two tabs here on this side. Now, I'm going to take a little bit longer because this is a brand new ink. I don't want to throw it away just because I break the cartridge. So I will be taking a little bit more time. If it gets too monotonous, I will speed past it in the edit. But just as before, I'm going to gently work my first screwdriver in. Spin it around to about there. Very good. Come to the other side. Again, same exact function. Just going to gently pry down. Same thing on this side. See, that's what I didn't want to do. So I'm going to back off of that one for a second. I'm going to switch sides. Change this guy over on this one. There we go. Remember guys, it's not a rush. We just want to free our toner. Our ink, our toner, our resin. I will use these terms interchangeably. That's probably wrong, but it's gonna happen. This one's giving me a little bit more of a struggle. Okay, we're gonna take a short pause and I'm gonna grab a third screwdriver.
One eternity later.
I cannot tell you how much harder that one was to get apart, but we finally did it. I had to come back and very gently, because as we know, this is a soft pierceable plastic here, but I had to just gently lift up on the edge here, because I think that the plastic was sticking to this front and back. So because this black part here is basically a sticker, so just gently, and I mean gently, just pry up just a little bit if you're having a little bit of sticking issues. This is a good safe place to hold. Don't apply any tools here though. Alright, so we're going to open this up. Alright, so interesting. We can see here the curvature of the cartridge has sunk down, but that is not the case on the exterior shell. So that is definitely under some vacuum pressure there. How much? Who's to say? But there's definitely some pressure going on there. Alright, so just going to protect the ink for a minute here, cover that one up, and go back to the white one that I was working on the other day. Again, just going to exact same procedure. But with this one, I have the added benefit of already having drilled this out, so to separate it, much easier. There we go. Small amount of pressure, pops right open. And you can see on mine that I did not grind away the tabs because I didn't want to change the way that this was holding. So, what you do with that information is up to you. Alright. Now, the thing that interested me most was just to find out how full they made these from the factory. So, the spring here, I'm pretty sure from talking with other people as well as getting some insight from some different sources, is that the spring is providing some vacuum pressure. So every time you do this, you can see this bag swell here, and when we come back, it comes back to sucking in. So that's important because it's providing back pressure for your print head. If you don't have back pressure, what I have found is that the ink tends to leak out of the print head. Obviously we don't want that. A, it's messy. B, it contaminates your print. And C, it could possibly dry on your print head if you're not careful. So, all things to be careful of. Alright, now that I have this information, I'm going to go ahead and put the yellow back together because I don't want to damage it any further. Well, I didn't damage it, but I don't want to damage it. But before I do, I am going to drill out the top in case I do in the future want to refill this. I don't, as of right now, have plans to do that, simply because I've been printing for a full month now. I have yet to change any of my color cartridges or black cartridge. It's been 4 white cartridges, however. How did I get 4 cartridges? Well, my wife and I both purchased a EufyMake, so she has a double set, I had a double set, and we were able to have 4 in total. So that is how I got my hands on 4 of these guys. I still have 1 left, but it's running low. So I don't want to necessarily do a lot of printing until that has been resolved. So when I filled this, I depressed this spring completely, and it found that it reduced the overall drippiness from the print head substantially, but I still don't think that I got enough air out of here. So, based on a couple of comments that I got from other people leaving messages on that last one, I'm going to try a couple different things to see about getting a little bit more air out of here and creating a pressure chamber inside of the cartridge in order to see if that prevents the leaking. We're now going to prep all of our instruments. I am going to be using denatured alcohol. You can also use isopropyl alcohol, as long as it's very high alcohol content, because we want this to dry incredibly fast and to wick off without leaving any residue behind. So for this method, I'm filling up that container. And inside this spray bottle, I have the same denatured alcohol. So first things first, I'm going to take my first syringe with a 30 gauge needle. I'm just going to suck up. You can see we've got a little bit of alcohol in here, and I'm just going to pull it all the way down and then bring it all the way back up and shoot it out, and then wiping away from the point, just making sure that the entire needle is clean. Then I'm going to move on to the large gauge. Same thing. Suck up some fluid. This obviously goes much easier. Then I'm going to cup my hand and eject some out of the needle and just go over the entire piece to make sure there are no contaminants on any of this. And then going to pull it all the way open, because when you're pulling the ink out, obviously it's going to be inside of the entire cylinder. Now for this one, what I like to do is pull out the stopper, and that's good. Put these on a clean surface, preferably single use, like a paper towel. Here we are again. We have an empty white cartridge, and the method that a lot of people that are suggesting is a 60 milliliter large syringe that has this flat top on it. Now, they are suggesting that you can insert it here and refill the cartridge while maintaining vacuum. I find this a little bit challenging to believe, but the other reason why I don't like this method is because, as you can see to my right here, the ink is sitting out exposed to the light, because that's the only way that you would be able to fill this up. So I'm going to start with roughly 30 milliliters, and we will attempt to fill. I'll do this so you guys can see as it goes. And what we want to concentrate on is, how does this affect the spring? Okay, I saw the spring come up already. Okay, I do not believe that this is the case, because that is a very hard press to get that on there. And while it does depress something inside the cartridge, it did not seem to like it. The only other item that we have here is this spring, but I'm not going to risk sticking this syringe in there, at least not one that has any liquid in it. So let's test that. Because at worst, we can just inject some air into the cartridge. What I don't want to do is inject ink into some place that it's not supposed to be. Alright, so it does feel like it snugs, so I'm going to add a little air to my nozzle. Okay, that does go into the port, so that may very well be a fill port. But there's one thing I want to check first, and that's the printer itself. Now what I want to know is underneath of this, make sure I'm in scope, yep, is underneath of this, what if there is any spot that presses on that specific port, and there is. So it's not super easy to see from this vantage point. Let me see if I can swing you over a little. But right there in the center is a corresponding spot where that's getting pressed. So I don't really trust injecting in there. So for those of you that are willing to try that, I wish you good luck. I am going to stick with the method, I'm going to stick with the method of inserting from the top. As soon as I hit that port, this opened up. So you're going to have to reseal or suck some air out of here no matter what. So you might as well just fill it from the top. So back to pulling our plug. And we freed our plug. I'm going to bring my ink back up. Very good. Now I'm going to take my sterilized syringe. Pull up 30 milliliters. Okay, so with the first fill, let's say that's about sitting directly. Yeah, it's about a third of the way up. So I'm going to do one more. To that 30 milliliter point. All right. And that has caused us to go to right about the bar. So I'm going to add probably 10 more milliliters. So that'll be a total of 70 that I add to this particular cartridge. Yes, I know they came with 100 from the factory, but I want to make sure that I have enough back pressure to keep the ink inside of this cart at all times. Okay, so the initial fill is now done. Set that ink to the side and tip this down. So at this point, let's make sure we're still in focus here. At this point, what we want to do is completely collapse this spring without tearing the bag, obviously. So press that down as deep as you can. Take your plug, place it, and then when you release, you can see that it stays in pretty well. Now, so I'm going to pull out to 10. And again, this is a 30 gauge needle on a lever lock style connection. And I'm just going to use this syringe that I previously had. So you can inject right dead center. And this is going to take a little bit of effort because there's going to be some pressure with that tiny needle. So I'm going to pull up to the 10 spot. Then I'm just going to wait until the pressure equalizes. We've achieved, so I can pull that out now. We are fully sucked in. Check that air. Yep, nothing but air coming out. And now I can replace the top. So we have fully seated the spring, added that extra 10 milliliters of air removed. We have good suction on this case, so I'm going to close it back up. And now we are ready to install. Okay, we have the new cartridge, or used cartridge I should say, installed in the printer. So we're going to go ahead and load up our print that we're going to do our test on to get the print head priming and to see if we have any leaks at this point. So follow along and I'll show you how to do it. We're going to start with a snapshot because obviously we got to get things going. So while that works, I'm going to simply go to Elements and Shapes. Just going to choose a shape. Going to go to the width and height marker and unchain those to prevent it from snapping to equal lengths, height and width. And then I'm going to change this to I think 320 wide by 10 mil thick. Just going to place that in the center while we wait. Change the color. Now, a lot of people will just drag it into the corner, but I found that that does not do a good job. So I go to the hex key and type in FFFFFF. And that automatically takes you to a white. I'm just going to cancel the AI analyzer. We're not going to worry about failing on the analyzer because we don't care about that. There we go. We see our color change to white. I'm going to click off. And then I'm going to change to 4 layers of white. And then we're just going to copy and paste. I do 4. There we go. That'll give me a good spread and see how much ink comes out from that new cartridge. Then I'm going to simply hit print. And we're ready to go. So I'll come back as soon as it's done printing. All right, that's done. Let's take a quick peek. Looks good to me. No breaks, no drips anywhere on the board. So as of right now, that looks pretty good. But the true question is the head leaking? So let me go access the software. We are going to move the head over and then we'll dive underneath and take a peek. All right, let's take a look at the head. It's going to be a slight movement here while I reposition. All right, so far so good. So when I was doing my testing last, this area right here of the sensor, obviously don't touch it, but this area of the sensor would drip, a single drip of ink. And obviously that's going to ruin prints, so we don't want that. I found that the more pressure now that I've put on that spring and sucking the more air out with that needle has appeared to have corrected that issue. But it's still a little early to tell for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and print probably about an hour-long print, and I'll come back and we'll see how it did. But initial testing looks promising. All right, looks like it turned out really well. So now that we've completed that roughly hour and 20-minute print because of the raised texture that I applied to it, let me go ahead and check the software and push the head over, and then we'll check and see if we have any ink drips. All right. Go ahead and pull that off. Looks like the print ended well. I'm going to go ahead and disengage the bed now so that we can see up to the head. All right. So previously, when I had done this refill after I had filmed the first video, this would drip fairly consistently because of lack of pressure on the cartridge. But that appears to have been solved. So I would say that this method of filling is doing a good job, because not only did we refill it without having to cut a hole on the top of the cartridge, we maintained pressure and kept the sensor from dripping. So, what did we learn for today? Well, for me, I learned that you need back pressure on these cartridges. So, if you're going to refill your cart, no matter how you do it, I would highly suggest you maintain that spring pressure that is being applied from the factory. What does that mean? Well, it means you can't cut the top off your ink. It also means you can't hot point a hole into the top of your ink, because both of those methods are going to allow volume changes due to outside air pressure inside of the cartridge. It may not dry anything out, but it's going to lose pressure when you're trying to pump from the printer into that print head. And from my experience, the print head leaks. I've only done it on white because that's the one that I'm most concerned about. I also have a clear varnish that I have not yet run out, but I have refilled one, and as soon as I am able to swap that one out, I'm going to then do the exact same thing. What I would not do is I would not chop or melt into the carts, and I would also probably not use the quote-unquote fifth secret fill port that was quoted in one of my comments on the first video, because it's an air inlet port, and if you're going to accidentally gum that up, you're going to cause problems. The out port from the bottom of the cartridge seems to have a one-way valve on it, so I don't think that you're going to successfully be able to pump ink into there. I tried applying a little bit of pressure. Obviously, I don't want to blow out the one-way check valve on my specific cart, so I did not press exceptionally hard. But if you're refilling, I don't think they need to be pressed in excessively hard. Use the fill valve at the top. You only need two things. A syringe, preferably with a fatter needle like this. This is a 12 gauge. It seems to do the job very nicely on filling up the ink without causing too much of a drag on when you're opening the slide outside of the initial suction. It pulls smoothly in and ejects smoothly out. So this is definitely a good choice for pulling ink out of your bottles after you sterilize the needle and for injecting into the cart. Then, after you've depressed that spring, you need to suck a little bit more air out to hold the pressure. I found that another syringe with a 30 gauge needle, you could probably get away with a 28 as well. I purchased 30s, so this seemed to do a very nice job on pulling the air out. Even though it takes a couple seconds because of the very small diameter needle, it has to pull a lot of air out in a very short amount of time, so it's going to take a couple seconds for pressure to equalize. Once you do that, you should be good to go. I've had this cart in here that I filled in this exact manner. It has been in here for 2 days. I've run probably 3 hours worth of print on this cartridge, and heavy use on the cartridge to between 18 and 10 milliliter prints each time, each taking a little over an hour for each one, and they all printed beautifully on the substrate, whether that be on a hard surface or just making stickers. They both turned out very nice, and the ink seems to be doing well. So a lot of you asked about ink. That's as much as you're going to get right now. I don't want to suggest this until I get a little bit more time in on it. It seems to be a quality ink. It's United States made, which I like. I like supporting a local business in our country versus buying it from Japan, China, overseas in general. Just like to buy something that's going to support someone else who lives here in the US, so I like that idea. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one where I'll talk about my ink usage and what I think of this specific ink. So I hope that helps everyone. Have a great night.